Hello everyone. Today I'm going to start a new concept DAX in Power BI, data analytical expression, which is an important concept. When we require mathematical calculation, we use DAX expression. And all of you know it's an important concept. In this, we have multiple formulas to calculate new values. In this, we also add date year format. So let's get started. First, we need to understand what is DAX actually is. So let's start. And what DAX is? DAX is an important concept even for interview perspective. So you need to understand it better, it in theoretical and practical way both. First, just we need to do what is DAX theoretically. DAX stands for Data Analytical Expression. It's a library of formulas that can to build combine to build formulas and in expression in Power BI analysis services and Power Pivot in Excel data models. So it's an analytical expression. It's a library of function which are already built in and which you can use in your data. So DAX stands for Data Analysis Expression. It is a language developed by Microsoft to interact with data in a variety of their platforms like Power BI, Power Pivot, SSAS, Tabular Model. It is designed to be simple and easy to learn while exposing the power and flexibility of tabular models. So using DAX will truly unleash the capabilities of Power BI. You can understand when you will use it that it's really a very powerful tool. Where DAX can be used? DAX can be used in Power BI, in Power Pivot for Excel, SSAS, Tabular Model, and Azure Analysis Service. So it's a one language, many tools as a bonus. It's using various tools. You can understand in Power BI, Power Pivot, SSS models, and Azure. First thing, I want to make you clear the topic, which is measure, what is calculated column. What is the difference between them? So, what is calculated column? Expands table by creating new column. If you calculate a new value by existing values in a table, that is known as column. What is measure? Measure summarize data into a single value. It add the total sale, it add the total value of profit, it add and multiply and add the few values, then these values are known as measures. So it is stored along with table and calculated column is stored within table along with table and it's consume memory, while measures are run at runtime and these are stored temporarily, so these not consumes memory. Calculated columns has less analytical capability, but measures have rich analytical capability. These are very fast, dynamic, and for adding, summing calculations and various kind of calculation we can use by simply a uh, expression, simply a function which is built in. We will see in coming videos, in coming demos, how to use these and how fast these are. So if we want to calculate the profit in any given table, how we can calculate? We can calculate is by profit is where sales amount is given and cost amount is given for any product. Then we can calculate profit is equal to sales amount minus cost amount and total sales. So in calculated column, it will add a new column. What is the profit? But if we go to the measure and we want to calculate the sales, so it will add by some function sum of sales amount and it will add entire column to a just to a value. So it summarizes the data into a single value. It does not expand. So it does not require any memory. We have various functions of measure and we have various calculated column applications when we analyze expand data for our business purpose. So this is a just basic example how the calculated column and measure we can differentiate. In coming videos, we are coming with more detail. So thank hello. Today's topic is DAX introduction. Basically, it's not DAX introduction; it's associated term introduction. What term where to use and what is the meaning of that DAX term use. This is basic all about the terms we can use in DAX expression and where we are using DAX. Then what is the meaning and what is the understanding of that. There are two things in DAX which we really calculate or use. These are calculated columns and calculated measures. There are only two values where the old DAX expression roundabout. So in DAX, what kind of data we can use? It is possible to define the data type for each column based on its requirement because appropriate data types improves the performance and reduce the size. So we can use whole number, decimal number, boolean, text, date, currency, date and blank. It's up to you what kind of data you can want to use so it can be feasible for your data set. Now there are few DAX function categories. There are more than 200 DAX functions which are divided into 9 categories in DAX. These are number one, aggregate function. Aggregate function are scalar value or a single value applying on aggregate function to a column or expression evaluated by table expression like sum, like max, sum. Sorry, if you use sum, what it will do? It will do sum for entire column and it will give us a single scaled value. Date and time functions. Date and time functions help creating calculation based on dates and years and for a 24 hours times or 48 hours for 3 days. So these functions are calculated based on calculations related to time and date. Filter functions manipulate the data on and filter context because when we apply filter then we filter out the data on some database that where city is Kolkata, where country is India. So we can filter the data from a data set where worldwide data is there and we want to see only the Kolkata. Then where city is Kolkata. So this is how filter is used. Information function. These are used to provide information about data type or filter context of the argument provided. Logical functions are act upon expression to return information about the values or sets in the expression. Few more functions are math and trigonometric functions. These are used in DAX very similar to like Excel mathematical or trigonometric functions. Parent-child functions are used to showcase a relation between parent-child relationship in a regular one. Relationship management functions manage and manipulate relationship between two tables, three tables or between a single table. Table manipulation function manipulate and return another one tables. Text functions manipulate strings. If you want to show sums of part, then you can use this. Time intelligence functions support calculations to compare and aggregate data over time periods supporting days, months, quarter, and even in years. So these are DAX functions category. What are the components of data DAX data model? What can be? These may be data, these may be table, column, relationship, measures, and hierarchies. So a data model consists of data, calculations, and formatting rule, and it combines to create an object. This object helps to explore and understand the data set. So this is all about DAX model. Now, what are DAX parameter names? DAX has standard parameters name to facilitate the usage and understanding of the DAX functions. We can't give them name, they already have name. So, to understand the syntax of DAX function and to use data values appropriately for the relevant data function, it is important to understand DAX parameter naming conventions. They already have some names, you need to understand them. What are they? These are maybe expression, any DAX function that returns a single value. where the expression is to be evaluated multiple times, like some value. Any next one value. Any DAX expression that return a single value where the expression is to be evaluated exactly once before all other operations. Next one is table. Any DAX expression that returns a table of data is known as a table expression for DAX. Table name. The name of an existing table using standard DAX syntax. It cannot be an expression. Next one is column name. The name of an existing column using a standard DAX syntax usually fully qualified and it cannot be an expression. Next one is name. A string constant that will be used to provide the name of a new object. Order and enumeration. After enumeration used to determine the sorting of order ascending or descending. And enumeration used to determine by type and the data type for path item and path item reverse. There are some description structure of data functions where a particular syntax is used, where is open parenthesis, where is an angle bracket, where is square bracket. So DAX function always name in uppercase letter. DAX function is followed by opening parenthesis. Each parameter follows a standard DAX parameter naming convention and it is enclosed in angle brackets. If a parameter is optional, it is further enclosed in square bracket. Understand this. The parameter is separated by commas. Ellipses are used to show an optional number of repetition of parameters. The function syntax end with closing parenthesis. So DAX function हमेशा अपर केस में होंगे, ओपनिंग पैरेंथेसिस होंगे, ऑप्शनल स्क्वायर ब्रैकेट में होंगे, सेपरेटेड कॉमा से होंगे, जो मस्ट वैल्यूज हो एंगल ब्रैकेट्स में होंगी. So what is DAX function? Basic description structure. अभी now I already told you DAX function is always select columns. Select columns and after that you need to give in angle bracket. It's a must expression there in angle brackets. Then the value may be optional in square bracket. And these dots told us that it may be an optional number of repetitions, same values. So this is how the DAX function syntax exists. There may be some standard parameter name, there may be some optional. So up to this, these are standard parameter and in this, these are optional and there is a closing parenthesis. This is opening parenthesis. What is DAX context? The concept of DAX concept is essential in gaining a complete understanding of DAX language and how it works. So there are two types of DAX context, row and filter mainly, and row context can be thought of in the current flow of row. The row context consists of the values in each individual row and values in column that are related to the current row. The filter context filters data. It is the set of values allowed in each column based on filter constants that were applied to the row or that are defined by the filter expression. So there are two types of row, current flow and filter which you really want to filter. Like here, this is a table where we want the name of country only where country name is OZ. So we applied a filter context here on this column. Filter context country is equal to OZ. So it will return the data only where OZ is there. So it's returned the value only with OZ and row context will talk about only the rows. If we want any kind of filter from rows, then row context will work there. So this is all about basic structure, definitions and the basic content we use. In coming demo, I will go to the practical, how to do practical application in DAX of all these parameters we discuss about. So I am ending here my demo today. Thank you for watching my video. Thank you so much. Today we are going to start a new topic and the name of topic is loading fact and dimension tables. So I have cleaned up our Power BI desktop, I created a new PBI file named extension functions. I will name it as extension functions. So what you need to do, you just need to go here, save as extension functions. As already I created it, so I'm going back. You can name it even here extension functions. So in the field menu, there is no table. You can see here. We are going to load few new tables from Excel file. Before starting, we just go there and we will read about the go through the table. So it's what we need to do. We just going to retail. If we click on here, retail has three files: customer, transaction, product category information. So it has three worksheets into three different tables. Let's preview the data before starting itself. And its customer table has the information about customer, date of birth, their gender, member are or not, the information about city, state, country, postal code, market, and region. Overall, they are providing the information about address of the customer. And we also have information about the customer ID because customer ID is our unique value. So as we can see here, we have data from different parts of the world like United States, Australia, Germany. We have Brazil, China, France. So we have New Zealand. We have different part of overall world, different states with different cities. And what is the unique? Unique is only customer ID. Now go to the transaction table. Transaction table has, sorry, first what we will do, we will just scroll down further. We just see in detail. It's have a huge data, not huge, but it's not less. But in practically, you will work with more and more data. It's not even that one. So if we are going to transaction table we have for each of the transaction. Well, transaction tables have the details about transaction, their customer ID, transaction date, product category, subcategory, quantity, and rate. It also tells us the information about store type. Store type may be e-shop, teleshop, MBR, and flagship. So it has many types of store type. So if you have uh, this one information, you have customer table. Also, you can see there is a one common information is there, customer ID. Customer ID is common both in customer and transaction table. And transaction table gives information about product subcategory and product category. It's also give information about quantity they purchase and rate, at which rate. So it will I want to show you, I deliberately want to show you how much rows it's have. You can see it's have more than 23,000 row, and practically it will be more rows if you will work in actually industrial scenario. So furthermore, we can see that customer transaction table is the heart of another table like this one table. Now we will go to the product category information. So what we can see here, and that it also have product category where it's also have product subcategory and product category. So now I don't know what I have done. What, so what it do? Product category and product subcategory also. First, I will delete it. By mistake, I said it. So, each product category has Few product subcategories like men, women, and kids. Clothing has. Footwear also has few subcategory men's, women's, and kids. Whereas electronics has categories of mobile, computer, personal appliances, and cameras. Bags also have information about men, women, and books also have information about various sub kind of subcategories. So we can see transaction table is common between both customer and product category. So we can say a transaction table is heart of another table. It should have large number of row than any other table. So it's already having large number of row than any other. Transaction table is heart of another table. It should have large number of rows than any other table. This follows the pattern of star schema where we have a central table which is also known as facts table, and this is surrounded by a number of dimension table. In our example, transaction will serve as the fact table and the another two table customer table related to one of the another dimension customer and product. So the other dimension is product category information table, and you will notice that in transaction we have reference to product category and product subcategory in the form of a code, and we have head over to product category information. So we have exact what category and subcategory names corresponds to there, like home. We have already seen here books. Okay, clothing, three subcategory, footwear, few category, electronic, there are few category. So these are categories and these are product subcategory. So all in all, we just have 24 rows here including the header. So now we are familiar with the data set. Now let's switch over to the Power BI and import the content of Excel file so that we can first go to the home menu and import the data from. Now go to the get data, and we just want to load the data from Excel workbook, and we just click here. We just go to here extension functions and click on here. In navigator, after hitting open, we will see it's taking few seconds. So in navigator we can select which one worksheet we want to pull in Power BI. Let's look at customer first. So you can see there are few customers which are having customer ID, date of birth, gender, member, city, and state, even country, postal code. So we can see it here. So we can see by a quick glance that we have some null values at postal code here. So let's go and look at the product category information. So as we click here, as we have seen already, it will show the data about product category and subcategory and subtotal. So this is the same data. Now heading over to transaction, it's rather a large fact table. We can see it's having all the columns there, and we can even see all the details about all the columns. So we even see that there is a suggested table for table 1, that is product category information. So we can have this one or this one, it's up to us. So what I am going to do, These both are quite similar. Now we pulled in customer sheet by clicking on customer, on transactions, and this suggested table product category information, and I will hit to load to view the customer. So there are few changes which will be there. We can see there will be data is loading in here in fields menu. So it's taking few seconds. Okay guys, so we can see its data is here. To view the content, click on the data view. On by clicking on data view, we can see about the details of customers. We can see about the details about. So just whatever the data you want to see, like product category information have only 23. So you can confirm it. It's have 23 rows. Yes, it's have 23 rows. Finally, we are having to transaction, which is a fact table, and sure enough, it does contain more than 23k rows. So within our transaction table will have a quantity column. So it's having a very much quantity here, and it's having quantity column of a product which was purchased in a specific transaction. Therein, a rate column gives a price of the for quantity of product. Now we don't have total sales amount, which tells us gross revenue generated for each transaction. However, this is very simple and can be calculated by simply multiplying the quantity by rate, by quantity by rate. How? So this is very simple. So what we will do, we will create a new create column, and we will head over to the table tools. If you are not there, you should go to the table tools, and by selecting this one table transaction, we should select new column here. You can see it will add a new column. So just make sure that it is transaction table which is currently active. So then new column added to this table, and then let's find exactly what will happen, what is there to display. So what will you have? First, I am going to name it total amount, and transactions, and these one bracket we will use. In this I will put value, quantity, and for make note that the syntax we adopted here. Table name followed by column name within a square bracket. So when we hit enter, the total amount will be added. So as we hit enter, the total amount column has been populated, and now it's tell us the total value of sale represented by each individual transaction. So just look at here. it should be understandable how we are doing it. Table name followed by column name within a square bracket and the operation which we really want to perform. So under the fields menu, you can see here, you can see that total amount shows up under transactions. So that's there is calculated field and that is also be summarized. So now we have to confirm that the total amount has been populated each of the individual row. Now it's time to apply a row column in the visualization. So we will head over to the report view again and first generate a new table. For generating a new table, what we will do, we will click on it, and as we click on it, a placeholder will be there. First, we just take it to this way so the information will be visible in a good way. Then we decide exactly what column will be displayed in this table. So expand what we will do, we can improve it to expand the visibility. Then let's just say we just want to see the total sale for each store type. So what I will do, I will simply drag and drop a store type here. You can see few values are there, but it's not readable. You can this value you can add in more information. So I will add a second value which is total amount. So now we have two columns table. We get a glimpse into its content, and I'm just going to switch on to the focus mode because I guess it's not visible. So this is exactly what we have. The first column point to distinct values of store type in transaction table, and then when we add in total amount column, by default we can see the Power BI can aggregate the content of total amount based on each distinct value of a store type. From this data, it is clear that each shop is the most valuable store type, and it's have 22 million out of 54 million, and other have 10 million values approximately. See, so now we have successfully loaded a new data set into Power BI desktop. However, what is significant is that we have not defined any of the relationship between three tables here. This is something we will get into later on. So guys, you can download the data from description box of this video from the link given. And thank you for watching this video. Hello, today video topic is calculating sums with an expression. So in our last demo, we have created a calculated column called total amount here within our transactions table, and then we use the total amount in order to calculate the aggregated sale or of store type in our data set. Now this aggregation is possible because by default total is there. Power BI calculates the sum of numerical values based on the category displayed in the visualization. In our case, the categories are different store type. However, what if I wanted to view the average amount of transaction rather than sum of all amount? Well, this is an aggregation which is also possible. But for that, we should go back to the report. So we just click on back to report view, and then I'm going to expand the menu. Yes, this is our table view. This is our report view. So by default, you will see that it is By default, it is the sum which is selected as the aggregation be performed. If we expand it here, we can see sum is already performed. You will see by default it is the sum which is selected as the aggregation to be performed. We have seen earlier that it is possible for us not summarize the value, but now we will see what will happen if we change the aggregation to an average value. Average is a calculation rather than sum. As we do this, the values in the table updated here. You can see the change. So I'm just going to hover over here. The average for the e-shop is 2385.7, which was earlier in millions. And you will see that sum of all transaction is 2368, which was not there. It was up to a few millions. So it's a quick way how summarization can be changed. So I'm going to expand menu once again to change the sum once again to sum. So now we will move in defining another calculated column in our dataset, for which we head over to data view and make sure that it is transaction table which is active. Yes, it's a transaction table. So what we will do now, we will go to the table tool here, and what we will select, we will go to new column. New column is about the total amount of transaction is available in that total amount, but let's assume that discounts are available for each of these transactions, and the rate for the discount varies according to the store type. Well, in this case, we need to create a calculated column which look for the store type, apply on discount for e-shop, and then apply another discount for all of the other store type. Well, for this, if we can make use an if function. So first, I will click here. Okay. So yes. Now I'm going to use of any function. So once a new column will be created and has been created, and values will be filled in a moment. So in the formula pane, let's give the name of this new column, and I'm going to give this name is discounted amount. So it will match with the other parts, so other column name will of that table. So what we are going to do, discounted amount. So what I am going to use the function if. If first I'm going to delete this one. So as I already told you that, see, we are using a function, and first I will go with the table name. So table name is transactions. Transactions, and now we will define on which measure we are using. So we are using on store type. Transactions store type is equal to e-shop. Then into transactions on which value total see 0.74. If this is e-shop, If transaction is store type is e-shop, then total amount should be this. Means 25% discount is there. If total amount, if it's not a store type, is not a e-shop, then total discount should be applicable only 5%. So to the table transaction. See what it is telling. For this calculation, what we are doing, if I will just hit enter and the values will be here. But first I want to explain the if function to you. If to the table name, then pass the argument. If table name a transaction where store type argument is equal to this, then this is the value. 25% discount should be there on total amount. But if it's not true, then only 5% discount should be there. Okay, so for this calculation, we just hit enter to take effect, and then let's see exactly how this computation is performed. The first argument, if function is logical test to be performed. In this case here, in this case, we check whether store type is a shop, and if it is the value returned defined by the second argument in its function, then in this case we computed 0.75 time of total amount for this effectively serve as 25% discount. And for shop transaction, then third argument in if function correspond to the condition in the case if function evaluates to false. So when store type is not e-shop, well, we apply 5% of discount by multiplying that total amount by 0.95%, So this is how a if function can be used to perform an operation based on a condition, just like in any programming language. So now that we have discounted value column here, we can quickly scroll along and we can see uh, that it is okay. Values is there for every row respectively. Yes, values are there for each and every row effectively. We can see here. If we find that it is okay, then we what we do, we just go back to the report view. We just coming here in report, we just what we now do, we just drag and drop discounted value. What now we will do, yes, we just drag and drop discounted amount to here, and it will add to table. So now just drag and drop here. We just see there are three values are there, three columns are there: store type, total amount, discounted. By default, a sum aggregation will perform, and I will switch to the focus mode because it's not very clearly visible. I switch to the focus mode where you can view the values more clearly. You have you have it. So if you want to confirm that discount has been applied correctly, take a look on the total amount and discounted amount. So it will explain that on e-shop it's 75% value should be there, and other it should be 95% value. So we can easily see that there is a variable value 1044 is 9922. So we can understand that it's almost 5%, it's almost 25% off is here. Okay, by view even we can understand. Furthermore, total discounted value is here. By default, sum of aggregation is performed. So total amount is here and discounted amount is here. So let's see, this is the value where we interested in, where we like to calculate sum of all discounted amount using just the total amount column in our transaction table. Is there a way to sum up all the values based on the condition specified in our if function? Well, the answer for this, yes. Specifically, we have some x function, and just go as a quick reminder that goal for us is to discounted to calculate discounted amount, which is 474. This. For this, we will create a new measure using sum up function, using sum x function. For that, what we will need to do, we just need to go to back to report. But before that, before going to report, I'm just reducing the size because we really need this space after few minutes. So now let's head over to data tab, and the goal for us to calculate some expression based on if condition calculated. First, I am just copying it. Maybe because because I need to retype it again if I'm not doing copy of this. So if you have used Microsoft Excel before, you know that it has basic sum function, and that function is also available in Power BI DAX. So this function is extremely useful but limited in scope because that can perform only some expression based on entire column. What if we want a condition sum to be calculated based on four types? So well, for that just head over to create a new measure here. In table tool, you just go to table tool and just there a new measure, and this new measure will make use of some x function, and just click on there here. Yes, and we can give uh, name of to the measure. I'm just using it sum of discounted amounts, and equals sum x. This function we are going to use. See, now just focus here. What you are seeing, sum x table expression. Okay. So table is transaction, obviously name of table, and expression. This will expressions. You will understand when I will write this. So there are two arguments should be passed in some x function. First one is table, and another one is expression. So just understand. I am writing it here. Transactions. Table name is what is transaction. Sorry. So you don't need to type it. Transactions, and expression will be the same as we have used. So I'm just no, it's not. Something wrong happened. What I will do, I will delete it. So I'm using retyping it. If transactions store type, the same condition we put on before few seconds for calculating discounted amount. If transactions store type is equal to eShow, then transactions total amount into 0.75 because there is a 25% discount if store type is e-shop. But if it is not e-shop, then transactions total amount should be 95% of the value. As we hit enter, you can see a new, uh, as we hit enter, we can see a new measure has been created. So sum the values in order to return to as a single value. So once measure is created, here sum of discounts amount, this it's a measure. So sum of discount amount has been populated as new field and a new calculated value. But now see whether this has calculated the correct value. So for watching this, we just go to report view. And in report view, we just go to the table setting, and in order to fix the table settings, and we see here the values are store type, to, sum of total amount and sum of discount amount here. So in order to fix the statics, we just fix the size as we have done it before. Now go to the format pane, and where we can get the idea of different categories. Some are not focused on here. This is like we can reset style, we can grid restyle, column header, specific column, URL icon, and we even can do some conditional formatting. So what we'll do, we just go to the values here, and in values I'm just increasing the size so it will be more visible. See, if I increase the size from, sorry, increase the size from 10 to 14, then the values visibility is good. And now text size is more visible. Well, we can also confirm that sure of discount amount is this one, 47 million is this one or not. So what will we will see soon that a new measure will return the same value. So let's go ahead to add on second visual here, and just click on the space outside. We just add the visual card. You can scroll along the visualization pane and you can see. So as you click on here, you can see card is here. We just increase its setting or aesthetic in according to our convenience. So we it's pop-ups and we just resize it. And in order to make of a new measure and display in the new card, well, let's check on the card itself. So there is a fill. So this card should be in active visual before doing all this, before doing further steps. So fill menu, we what we'll do, we just do drag and drop sum of discounted amount. So in order to, in report view, what we just get in here, the sum of discounted amount is similar. So in order to fix the aesthetics of this table, more clearly, we just can go to the format pane. In format pane, you can see different type of values, different type of formatting you can apply here. Like display units is auto. You can have different kind of display units here, like you can have auto, none, thousand, millions, billions, trillions. But what you can do, let's we are doing it none. As we are doing it none, you can understand that the value is sum of discounted amount is similar. It is same. So if we are increase the value of size, it will increase the value of this appearance, but we really don't require it. Well, we can also confirm that sum of discount amount is 47.4 million by doing this. We will soon see that a new measure will return the same value. So let's to add on second visual, which is here. We have created a new column, and this is how we have created a new measure, which is sum of discounted amounts. Thank you. So the topic for this, how to use the average x function, using the average x function in DAX. So till now we have calculated sum of discounted amounts. Formula is here, where if table name store type is this, then this one is the value should be, otherwise it should be the value. So now we will use average x function to calculate the average. What is x? X is how the x function in DAX works, where average uh, calculate like some x function. So it some x function. So these function perform some aggregation based on expression. Like if I am doing calculation on based on sum or average, it will do sum and average, but x function do what x do, x will do filtering. X will do filtering. So now what we are going to do, we are going to do table tool. We will calculate a new measure, and what we are going to do first, I just want to copy it because we don't need to retype it. New measure, it's working on it. So new measure name, I'm going average e-shop transaction amount. So I'm putting the name average e-shop transactions amount, and we are using average x function. You can see there are other functions, these are also DAX formula which we can use for some specific calculation, for like averaging only we should use average function, average x. Now in average x we can see there should be a table name and an expression. So table name is the similar, transactions will be, I'm copying that one values there here also, transactions. So what I will do here, put the table name. First I will give the name of table, transactions, then comma, expression is passed. So I'm going to use if expression, if table name within table, transactions column name is store type. store type is equal to, we are talking about only e-shop, then it should return a value. Then value should be transactions total amount. Otherwise, it should be 0. So the goal here is to calculate uh, average transaction amount for each shop based on the total amount column, and next note the discounted amount. So when we apply averages function, we have to use the table name and define the expression for which, like, we want to uh, use the expression. So like sum of the values, like average x the value. So store type should be only transaction. Store type should be only e-shop, and transaction, what it will do, it will add the value for this one, e-shop. Otherwise it will ignore the value and return only 0. So if we just, if for we are using if for filtering, checking store type. So third expression is 0 here. If it is not e-shop type, it will return 0. So when we are computing average, we can doing it for individual store type, and it is on, so we are using here for only e-shop. So for new after hitting enter, there will be a new measure, average shop transactions amount has been added. And what we will do, we will now go to the report view, and what we can do, we just click here and we just drag and drop average. We can see a new column will be added, average e-shop transactions value. You can see here, and the amount is 963. Sorry, and the amount is 23857. But the total average, it will be divided by 3, and it will return this one value, not 3 by 4. So this is the average amount of column appear here. So what is the significant here is that all of non e-shop average calculation is 0. So this average is correctly computed for e-shop. So this is how about we can use average x function of DAX formulas in Power BI. Thank you. Thank you for watching my video. So now our today's topic is generating blank data. How to generate blank data? For that we need to go here in table view, and so we will now focus in exploring variety of DAX functions. You will get sense what exactly this formula language has to offer, and importantly how exactly it can be applied in various visualization. We will now focus on the blank function. Before we get into that, I will draw your attention to that customer table. Please select here, minimize it, and select customer table. So this is postal code column. So you will observe that for all of the rows which are currently available, there is no values for postal code. This is quite common in large data set where some information will be available for a specific instance, and whenever the details are available, it may be important for the analysis. However, in this case of our analysis, well, postal code is not relevant. In that case, we just select and delete it. In case you are wondering why we select it and delete it, so it can be contain some information, doesn't get in the way of our visualization well. The answer has to do with performance. For this data have been loaded into Power BI into import mode, which means it's all reside in memory. Given that, it is a best to ensure that only the data what we really required in visualization is loaded into memory. So it helps to trim down our data set and remove any unnecessary columns which are not essential for analysis. So to remove postal code, we just click on it and choose the option to delete. We click here and we choose the option of delete. When we make this selection, we are prompted to confirm that we want it to go ahead. And if we go yes, then we are done in few seconds. You can see. Where we just reduce data set, we are ready to use blank function in DAX expression. First, I will tell you where we will apply. In gender column here, in gender column, you will notice that the values in view are either F or M, but in the third row, there is a value of any. And this is where the gender of customer is not known. So it has been listed as not applicable, but consider the case where we want to replace it with blank instance. Before we get to that, let's consider why this might be useful. Well, there are lot of functions which keep blank values differently. Then when there is a value, for instance, there is a count function in DAX which counts a number of cells in particular column which contain non-blank values. If you would like to use those functions to calculate how many customers are there whose gender are not known. However, having the value of NA will not work, not applicable will not work because this will serve as a non-blank value and will be treated as same as F or M. So for our purpose, let's create a new column where NA are replaced by blanks. For that, what we will do, we will go to table 2. We just go to new column and as a new column will pop in, I will just fill in values here. Yes, I will just fill in values. I will put the values gender. First we need to delete it. Yes, gender blank, and we are going to use here if function. If we are already familiar with if, so what we will do, if logical test result if true. Similarly, we will put here name of the table customer and we can see that customer, and there is a condition if true, then value is this, otherwise value is that. So we are putting customer gender is equal to not applicable. If it is not applicable, put it blank. Otherwise it should be same. So if you, as we do enter, it will work. So before we look into the content of column, let's quickly summarize the DAX expression which we use to create it. So if the values of gender column is NA, we will call blank function and it will return blank value. in the context of Power BI, and if it is not, then it will not return blank value. We simply use gender column as it is. And now when we look at the gender uh, blank column itself, well, the first two rows have the values of F which match the value in the original gender column here. And for now, third rows have blank. So now we scroll down further and we can see a quick glance. Well, things looking fine or not. For a sanity check, let's just explain the column for gender. We can see here. So where we can see the distinct values here is FMNA. Here we can see upside. Values are FM and NA, and there are no blank here. But in gender blank, there is a blank value for NA. And then when we look at the values of gender blank, well, these are either value F, A or NA. So for that, we can see here values F, M, NA. And if we do it okay, and for sanity check, if we check here, we can see it's a value blank F or M. Significantly, there is no occurrence of NA. And this is how blank value appear here. Now let's get out of this view. Now see how exactly the gender blank and gender column varies in terms of behavior where we use with a count function. So our goal is to figure out how many customers are there in our data set whose gender is known, and we'll try to extract these values from both gender and gender blank. We will create a new measure now, gender count. So okay, just go to table tool and create a new measure. And we will use a DAX expression again. Gender count. I am creating a new measure here where I will use count function. So this will make use of count function, gender count, and first write it count column name. So I am specifying here customer gender. So this is how a gender measure looks like, and new to see what values it returns. Before we get to that, however, I will draw your attention towards the bottom left of your window, which points to the fact that customer table has 5, 6, 4, 7 rows. So how many of all these rows, how many uh, has gender F, M, or how it's behaving? So for this we go to the report view from visualization pane, and we just go to the card view. We just before do going there, we are just entering it. So there is a gender count is there. So we are just going to the report view. For from visualization pane, we just go to the card visual. We did it yesterday. No, we are doing it for customer. First, what we need to do, we just need to remove first the values we are having. So guys, we are going to cards. As we click on card, uh, a value placeholder is there. So I just resize it so it's get an appropriate size, and that is just display the values of. And what I will do, I'll just make it here, and I just drag and drop to its fields gender count measure. Where is the gender count measure? It's here, and yes, so you can see it. uh, you can see it that it's showing the values 5647 values correspond to the customer, but we know that there is one NA values there, and if you have used the count function to count the valid values, we will need to refer gender blank column instead. So for that we just go ahead and select gender count measure what we created and add it to the gender blank column. So we can do it even here. So what we need to do, we will go to the new measure and we will create a value here. So what I will do here, I will do it to the gender count of customer, which which value we really want count. Customer gender blank we really want to count. So as we hit enter, so we will choose a different name. Gender count, let's putting it gender count 1 1 I'm putting here. So here, gender count 1 1 is here. So let's we resize it again and a card, drag and drop simply a card again here. So first what we need to do, a card is preparing question answer, it's a wrong, remove here, and first just resize, you can resize it or already it's really small. We just click here and we just drag and drop card here. So there is a card again. So there are two instances in our data set where the original values are NA, or it may be we have seen one. So what we will do now, if we just drag and drop gender count 1 1 here, you can see it's 45645. So we can understand that there are two instances, one we have seen and one where somewhere other, so where the original values are NA, but in the gender blank column it's simply a blank value. So now you have the idea how blank function works and also the significantly how count function works, especially with blank values. when modeling data with Power BI. So it is important to keep these factors in mind so that visual portray the data as exactly as possible. So this is how count function works, and this is how blank function works. So we are starting with the same point where we left off in our last video. Now we are going to start with now I will use in this video how to apply different count functions. So in the previous video, we saw the count function in DAX formula language allow us to calculate non-blank values in a column of a table in Power BI. So this is a useful function when we try to get a profile of data in front of us. We now explore a variety of other count functions which allow us count the occurrence of different types of values. So next up we will make use of count rows function. For this we can navigate to new measure, and as we click on it, it will start in few seconds. Yes, and we will give the name to new measure count rows. Count rows of which one table? I want to count the row of customer. So as we enter hit, we can see there is a new measure count rows has been added here in the fields menu. So now what we will do, we will now click on a blank part of the report, and we will just simply place a card there. There is a new card here, and what we can do now, we will just drag and drop count rows to the fields menu, and we will see what it will return. So for the customer table, we just drag and drop count rows here. See, this is count rows, return the total number of rows there in table. So count rows function is really function when you want to count overall rows of a data set. It is also useful for us to view the value directly as we have here or as a part of product calculation, where perhaps we want to know what proportion of product content have a specific value to compute the profession. We will of course need to know the total number of rows in the table, and count rows will return it to us. Let's move along from count rows to another count function, specifically count blank, which you can think of as the inverse of count functions. So while count return the number of non-blank function in a specified column, count blank return the number of blank values. To see it in our action, let's go to the create a new measure. So we are just going to create a new measure, but first I just want to shift some these data. So we can adjust new values here. Okay. So now we are back to, we have to create a new measure, and here we will go to create a new measure, and we will create a measure. So as it process, we will create a new measure name of count blank gender. So Now I will use count blank function. So you can see there are number of functions there. You can see which we can use according to our requirement. So we are using, see, we have used count rows, count text. We know that count text will perform some filtering operation. Now we will use count blank. Count blank on what column? Count blank on customer gender blank. No. Okay. So this new user is will be added and we can confirm it in the fields menu after hitting enter. See, there is a new measure has been added, count blank gender. So we will perform in the same way. We just make use of it again, like we will drag and drop card here in here, and a new card will be yes, a new card will be added. So let's click on blank portion of report and we can create a new as well. So what we should do now, go for menu and what we have created now, count blank gender. We just drag and drop here and it will return the values of count blank in the gender column. You can see how it's returning. So now we have four different count functions. But we will compare two of them. See, if gender count, this is the value, we will add this to the blank value, it will return this one. You can see these all values are correct. In gender, total count is this, count rows is this, in gender count non-blank is this and blank is this. So these both will add to this. So now we have four different count functions, but now compare three of them. 5645 count for gender blank column and 2 return for count blank on the same function. Together they will return this. Okay. The sum of both will be 5647, which is what the count rows function return. So these distinctions are important when you are using Power BI in your report. Let's move on to another count function, and this is to count another distinct value in a specific column. First, what we need to do, we need to adjust it. We'll adjust it here. So, guys, what we need to do, calculate. We just create a, we are just going to create a new measure for distinct count, and we will create a measure here by name distinct count. Distinct count, and for distinct count we can use distinct count function. We can see distinct count here, distinct count on the table with column what, on the table customer with column gender blank. So what we will do now, we will just click enter. After clicking enter, we can see a different measure distinct count has been added, and we will now process the same steps. I guess we have some idea what the outcome of this measure will be, since we know the other two values in the column are female and male. So now what it will return to see, we just add a card holder here and we just drag and drop distinct count to here. We can see the value we get is 3. There are two values, male, female and blank. So it is counting 3. While we apply distinct count function to gender blank column, we can easily imagine that this can be very useful when we apply it to many different types of values as well. So if we have a product category, if we want to know the number of distinct product on offer, well, this distinct count function can be applied. Now you go and you might consider the fact that distinct count function does suffer from the drawback that it count blank as a distinct value. So if you want to distinct count by ignoring blank, there is a new measure which we can create. First, just adjust this value to here and create a new measure. And we will add a distinct count no blank. And there is another function here which can we can use in Power BI to calculate with no blank. So we will use distinct count no blank. We will use function distinct count no blank. So guys, as I'm applying a new function, you can see there are another one functions are which you can do here. So distinct count no blank on which table, on customer table with gender blank. Okay, as we hit enter, the new measure will be created with the name distinct count no blank. So now we will see what value it will return, and for that we will just click on the blank part of the view of this report and we just add a card here. After adding a card, we can drag and drop distinct count no blank value to the fields. So there are two values, male and female, with no blank. Okay. And sure enough, this returns a value of 2 having use of count function few times. Well, now explore the related function for count because we have already used count function many times. The related function which is count a. So for that we will head over to data view. We saw that count function can be applied for both the gender and gender blank column, and now count a function can also be applied for gender and gender blank, this one and this one. Similar fashion, the count function can also be applied for this and this. So now we will use count a to the same column and the same value will return. In the context of DAX between count and count a, the count a can also work for Boolean data types. This is the main difference. However, now we will apply count a function on this city column, on the city column. So let's get the preview on the content of the column by expanding the menu. You can see that there are various values. You can see that in this column handful of blank here and also a number of non-blanks, all these values. So now we have an idea of what this column contains. We can cancel this view, head over to report tab where we will create a new measure which makes use of count a function on the city column. So we create a new measure for this. The name of the measure will be count a city. So we will go to the, we will adjust it here And now we will go to the new measure. New measure where count a city, where we can see there are different count functions will be now here. So count a we are using, but if we are use count ax, it will you can put some condition even there if which we have used previously. So count a customer city, table customer on column city. So this is how we write down the DAX expression. I think till now you are very familiar how to write it down. DAX expression on table on particular column on with some condition. So as we hit enter, a new measure will be there with the name count a city. So with the same steps, we are entering a card place holder here, and as we enter a card placeholder here, we just drag and drop count a to the fields, and we can see it's returning the value 5644. So now we have made use of a variety of different count operations, and I guess till now you are very familiar where in measure we write it down. There are multiple count functions are there. So according to our requirement, we can apply the function on particular table on particular column. So I am ending my demo here. Thank you for watching my video. Thank you. Thank you so much. My today's topic is creating filter tables. We can use count functions with some other functions in DAX, namely calculate table as well as filters. In this video, we have used in previous video we have used card visuals for a measure which made use of count rows function. Here, this count rows. Just as a quick reminder, count rows allows count rows in a given table. Now, what if you want to filter a table based on the contents of one of its column? Well, this is something which can be done by making use of calculated table function. To see how that works, let's go ahead and create another measure. And this is a measure which used to count the number of customers who are located in the country of Germany. So we give their name. What we will do, we will just go create a new measure, and window of creating measure will pop out. So we give the name count of all German customer, and we will perform this count by creating a table which only contain all of the customer where the country is equal to Germany, and then counting the number of rows of that table. So how we will write it? First we will give it name of count of all German customers. What we will do, we will use function of count rows. We will see there are various function here which we can use according to requirement, but we are using now count rows. Within count rows, we use another function calculate table. See, this is a function calculate table. In calculate table, we can see there is expression for a table and multiple filter expression we can use here. So our goal is to filter through those customers whether country is equal to Germany. So this is where we look for these rows with the where country is Germany. So what we can do, we just use one filter here, but if we really required, we can use multiple filters here. This is the beauty of calculate table expression. So calculate table, and what is the name of table which we want to give here? We want to give here name of customer table. And on that customer table, what expression we want to use? We want to use for customer table, country should be Germany. Then we will use this, and country is equal to, within semicolon we will put Germany. So we can see we are using two DAX functions together, count rows and calculate table, and even filter there. So where the country is Germany, now we have made use of calculate function before, and you may recognize that it looks quite similar to it. In fact, calculate table and calculate are quite similar, except calculate return a single scalar values while calculate table returns a table. In this case, the table will contain all of those rows in original customer table where the customer's city is equal to Germany. So what we did here, we calculate a table where country is Germany, and then we applied where country is Germany, and then we apply count rows function on it. Okay, understand this. First we apply calculate table where customer country Germany, and then we applied count rows in that table. This will give us count of all German customers. Alright, then to create this measure, let's just hit enter. Under the fields menu, you will see the another customer table, count of all German will show up. So count of all German customer is here. Now it's time for to view the German customers. So we repeat the steps which we gone through few times already. What we will do, we will just adjust this to here, and we will click here, and yes, no, we are not preparing for QA. We will simply click on card. So a card placeholder will take a place and the fields will be here. So now count of all German customers will be, how we can find it? We just drag and drop this value to the fields menu. We can see there are total 278 customers. And in this case of our table, total customer is, we can see total customer is 278. Then we have idea how to use calculate table function, and we will see that it allows us to filter on the existing table. More precisely, it allows us to apply a filter context on a table, another DAX function, which allows us to specify a filter over a table, is simply called filter, which we have used here. And now we will use that in order to create same table in German customers, as we did it just a little earlier with calculate table. However, we will use that table to perform another operation well to demonstrate that. Let's head over and create a new measure. Click here on new measure. A new measure window will be pop out, and we can create a new measure for count of German customers with non-null city. So we require a table which filter the customer table, because customer table we need to filter where customer of country is Germany, and what we need to do, require filter, and then on filter table we need to apply count AX function. So count of German customers with non no city. equal to, we can see here we have various kind of count function. Here we are already familiar with count A. Now we will use count AX function because we really need to apply filter. And count AX counts the number of values which results from evaluation and expression for each row of a table. So what we will do, we will use filter here, filter table. So we will put filter customer customer country should be equal to Germany, and it should return customer city. So this filter, this one function is similar to calculate table. However, with significant difference, in calculate table function there is multiple filter expression with we can apply. So in this case there is only one, but for purpose it is more than enough. This is entire expression. And what we will do here, it will return the values of customer city. So its entire expression we will use. So let's quickly take a look as was what exactly accomplished. So first count x function, the first argument is a table which is created by making use of filter function. The first argument in filter is the table on which the filter is applied. So there is a customer table and then we have an expression to define the filter. We have an expression to define the filter. In our case, we have entered the country is equal to Germany. In our case, we have returned the value of 278. Customers from customer table from the country of Germany. So this is a table of German customers created on flies, and this table makes the first argument count AX. So the second argument well can be some expression, but you can also point to some specific column over which count A operation will be applied. So by passing along city column of customer combined with filter, we will effectively count the number of German customer for whom the city column is non-blank. Let's just hit enter. As we hit enter, there is a measure will be created, and I am just going to drag and drop count of the German customer to non-null city. What we'll do, we just drag and drop it here. We will see it's 277. Previously it was 278 and it's changed to 277, pointing to the fact that there was a single German customer who had a blank value for city where you have it. We have now successfully made use of calculate table, filter as well as count AX function. We have seen how calculate table and filter can both be used to create table for fly, and now these can be used in conjunction with count function or count AX function. Thank you for watching my video. Thank you so much. Hello friends, for today demo topic is using DAX nested functions. Today we will work with DAX nested functions in transaction table. So you can see it is possible for us using DAX function in another DAX function. We will now explore how we can call any if function inside an if function for this nested if statement. we will make use of transactions table which we have previously loaded and effectively serve as fact that in the schema containing customer broadcast information and transactions table here. In the transaction table, there are number of continuous columns. We can see here there are number of continuous column such as total amount, and there are also columns containing categorical data such as store type, where there are four different categories of a store. Now, in many instances, it may help you to convert the numeric and continuous values into categorical or discrete data. As an example, let's look at the total amount column. This is of course include a whole host of values in a range and even among the values which we can see in the view. You will see there are some transactions where the amount is 7300 or more than 7000, and other it is as low as 450, 355. Now what if your analysis is not quite important as what the exact amount for each transaction, but it is more relevant if you know if certain transaction happens to be of high value and low value or somewhere in the middle. Well, we will now make use of nested if statement or if function to transform this data from continuous to discrete form. For that, we will create a new column transaction and new column in transactions table. Column, it will create a new column and it will take few seconds. Before we proceed, let me remind you that we have covered how to transform a continuous column into discrete one. So what we'll do now, we will, yes, it's created and a new measure will be there. So what we'll do, we will give the name to it total amount groups. Now we will go to the here we can see short one column by content of another, it's represent, and it create a new group to combine multiple values into one, and it's for write a DAX expression that creates a new column in selected table, calculate values for each row. So these all are available in top ribbon here, and which allow us to define different groups in the table based on a value in a specific column. Now that is exactly what we are going to do with nested if function, and the goal is to simply understand how nested function in Power BI works. If we click here, we can have some another options too. Yes, it's added here. It has been added total amount groups. So what we will do, total amount groups, I will put it the name of total amount groups. First, just need to delete here. So total amount groups, if I am doing it 1. So what we need to do, we need to use if statement. we need to use here if condition, then yes, we will use if function for it. And if, as we are already familiar with the syntax of a logical test, result true, result false. So if transactions, we are using transactions table, transactions total amount, this is the total amount, yes, total amount is greater than or equal to is greater than or equal to some specific value on which we want to define it. If transactions total amount is greater than or equal to 2000, then this value should be low. Else we will use another if statement here. If same table, we will use if transactions total amount is greater than amount is greater than 2000, and we will use in order to perform logical AND operation, we are using double AND symbol. And transactions table, we are using again transactions total amount is less than or equal to 6000. It should be medium, else it should. So total amount group 7. So if you just hit enter, now it will process, it will work and will take few moments. And here we have just put it value 20,000. What we will do now? We can see all values are less than 20,000. We will convert it to 2000. So after changing, if we hit enter, you can see here new column has been created and we can explain the value of new column. So first few values are high, which have more than 7,000 values, which have more than 6,000. Few are medium, and there are various values which are according to the value we set here in nested if function are low. So this is how we can cast out a numerical column into categorical and discrete form, and we can even group the data. So nested if can also be used if the categorization is relatively simple. Let's answer the question, how many exactly these grouping are really useful. Well, for that, let's just see if you want to focus on one set of transactions representing the high value one. Well, looking at this data table, we can simply apply a filter. So what we will do here, we will just select a filter. What we can do, we will uncheck all and we will just have value high, which we have set the value high according to our requirement. So if we set value high here and we apply a filter, then here we just have the value transactions, and while the bottom of window we can see how much rows are there. So we can see out of 23,000 plus rows, there are only 1,000 plus rows are there in of original data set. So you can see by scroll along in the way, we can see that total profiling of groups column, which will help us better understand the contents of our table. Now we will again modify the filter little bit. We just stick with low value, and what we will do for this, we will go here and we will uncheck this high and we will go with low value. As we hit enter, OK, there are more almost 12,000 rows which are falls in the categories of low. So we have an idea of that majority of row in our transaction table represent low level of transaction. At least the identification of our data level low, which we have set it here. As a final sanity check, let's bring up the filter once again so the only medium value transactions should be appear. We will do once again modification and we will click on medium value. So as we hit enter, you can see there are 10,000 plus rows are there which are in the category of medium value. So if we sum up all three categories, medium, low and high, it will show the value 23053 rows which is there. So this is how column profiling help us to understand the data, and in this case it's clearly point out that these fractions of data points to high value transactions. Now it's possible for us to generate a visualization which display count of rows for each of these grouping we just defined. So the end users of our report have an idea of how the total amount of transactions are split up. Alternatively, we as data analysts can think of as the data helping us to decide what visualization may be included in first place. So we can try to categorize based on grouping we define. So do we need grouping and what kind of chart should be presented in this group? We can now familiar how to use nested if function in DAX. So this is how nested if works in DAX. Thank you for watching my video. Now we are familiar with nested if function, and topic for this video is using the switch function. If you are familiar with any programming language, you know it we can replace nested if with switch function. This also applies to DAX formula language, and now we will apply a switch statement for a switch function on this switch statement or a switch function on this transaction table. So we'll perform a nested if operation. We apply it to total amount column, this one. And in order to transform this continuous column into the categorical column, giving us the new total amount column, total amount calculated column, when I'm applying the switch function, we will transform a column that is already categorical, namely the store type, this one, to another set of categorical values. As a quick reminder, there are distinct values for store type, as we are familiar with eShop, Teleshop, flagship store and MBR. We have already discussed it, but we can see down here This is e-shop. This is also e-shop. Yes, teleshop, flagship store, store type, and yes, there are few which are MBR. What if an out analysis these you categorize? If you what if in out analysis these you categorize we already don't have need, and instead we will likely to map these existing categories into the other categories. So as we will refer to e-shop, teleshop, e-shop to online, teleshop to phone, and flagship and store and MBR to other. There are four types: e-shop online, teleshop phone, and flagship store MBR to offline. Well, you may recognize that this can be accomplished by using if function. However, in order to accomplish same thing by using switch function. In any case, we will now create a new column in transaction table. So once transaction table in active here transaction table is active, we will go ahead and check on new column. So as we click on new column, and then they're putting a formula for this in new column here. So what we will do now, we will create a new column named store category, and we will use switch function. The content of the column B will be represented by switch function. So what we will do first, name it store category. Store category. And now we will use switch function. And we can see here content of the column will be changed by switch. So if what is the switch function doing? If expression there is some expression, and if there is value 1, then result should be result 2. Value 2, result should be result 2. For value 3, it should be there is some other result 3, else there is some another statement. So finally we have result 4, which we have result else explicitly. So let's proceed to see how these functions work. State category, for which we really want. We want for transactions table. Transactions table, which one column? Transactions store type. Transactions store type. Now value 1, result 1 now. So how we will categorize? How we will write it? Store type. E-shop should be online. So we will write it down. E-shop. For e-shop, what should be the value? What I am talking about? E-shop should be online. Similarly, value to result to. Now, teleshop should be phone. Should be phone. Else, other should be offline. So, all of these values will be converted to offline. Now, we will close it. So, now we covered two parts of values of results based on expression to be evaluated for switch, and then everything else we would like to the value of line. For store type, e-shop value should be online, teleshop value should be phone, in transaction table store type. So what we defined little earlier, that it should be the value. To perform this operation, we just hit enter, and now We'll see what it will happen. So we just hit enter. As we hit enter, now we have a store category column for each of the transactions in view, and the store type. If e-shop, the store category should be online. Well, there are more and more online transactions, but soon enough you will have store type some other, and like here is store type online, here is also online, here is also online. See, for flagship store it's offline. You can see easily here. For MBR it's also offline. For teleshop it's phone. So well, there are more and more online transactions, but you can see how we can mm, change the any column type to another one. So as you will continue to scroll, you will see store type is converted to uh, state category, and teleshop is mapped to phone, MBR is mapped to offline. So how we can convert store type to store category? So this is how we have used switch statement for transforming our column into another one. So when if it comes to modeling data into Power BI visualization, all of this will become important. If the content of raw data is not quite in the form which can be presented in the visual form, well, you may need to perform this kind of transformation for visualization purpose. To understand why this might be useful, well, consider the fact that any end user are more familiar with the term offline, online and phone. So if we click on here and we see the filters to view only offline, we just deselect all and select only offline. And as we hit OK, all offline transactions are there, and we can see there are 4,000 plus filter rows for offline transaction out of 23,000 plus rows. So it is possible to do this type of filtering for visualization purpose. You can see there are 4,000 plus rows for corresponding to offline transactions. So with this type of grouping, we have effectively can aggregate both flagship store, uh, mailship brochure translated into a single unit, and potential for your visualization. This may make you more sensible. So for a quick sanity check, what we will do now, we will just see only online. So as we hit enter, we can see total transactions are there. And if I am filtering out phone, there are how much filtered rows are there. So we have used successfully switch function here, where on transactions column store type transactions table store type column, and we are converting value 1 to this one, value to this to, else this is the result will be there. So this is how we can convert. If we do select all, once again, this is how we can convert and filter the data. Okay. So I'm ending my demo here for this one topic. Thank you for watching my video. Thank you so much. Discuss about DAX interview questions and their answers. How we can crack a DAX interview based on some important question. So what we are going to do, we will discuss some few important questions, and then you will understand how to prepare for DAX interview. First thing I want to tell you, I'm not going to discuss here everything in detail. I'm just going to cover few important questions which will help you to crack any DAX interview. And the first question will be, what is DAX? In most of the interviews, you will face same question, what is DAX? So DAX is a data analytics expression, is a library of functions and operators that can be combined to build calculation formula expression. So we can calculate in our given table or in some given data by with the help of function and operators, and we can perform or we can extract the information which we really want to do. Second question, when we use DAX? When we use DAX? So the answer for this is DAX is used for three things: for creating columns, for creating table, and for creating measures. So these are three things: for new column, for new table, for new measure, we just use DAX. Next one question is, how would you rate yourself in DAX? It will be asked. It's an important question for interview perspective. So you have to prepare for this. How would you rate yourself in DAX? So I'm expressing my answer. I can rate myself 7 out of 10 in DAX function. I can't say I know every DAX function because DAX is a very vast field and it's not easy to remember all DAX functions at a time. But I know the basic how we can implement the DAX. So whenever it will require, I can check that from Google and implement that DAX in our Power BI report. My next question maybe for interview purpose, what DAX functions have you used in your previous project? So you have to prepare almost 10, 15, 10 to 12 or 15 uh, functions that you have used in your previous project. You have to Google through, you have to uh, practice them because it's not theoretically. Maybe in virtual interview they will ask you to do some operation by sharing some data set. So I have used in my previous project some text functions which are replaced: round, calendar, all, calculate, calculate table, format, count, and count AX. Next question for interview purpose maybe, what is the difference between sum and sumx functions in DAX? So what is the difference? We can say sum is an aggregate function and sum x is a sum of an expression. So what is the difference? Sum returns scalar value means single value. It works at column level. Expression not allowed. Like the syntax will be sum table column. But sumx returns scalar value single value. It will work at each row level. And the expression is allowed. An expression for sumx is sumx table expression. For example, sumx we can use for filtering by preferring here any condition like sumx. If table name is one, table name is like we say world, sumx world and comma if country is equal to in Southeast Asia. So like this we can uh, add expression in sumx function. So sumx for filtering and sum for sum the column. Now question number 5. What is the difference between max, max A and max X function? So what is the difference between these all three? Max. Max return the largest value in a column or between two scalar expression. And the syntax for max is max column or max expression 1 expression 2. So example 4 we can write it down max like a table name is EMP and salary is the column. So max employee salary or max 50, 100. And we can say max work with number, text, date, but not with Boolean data type. It will work for column. So this is what about max function do. Now max say return the largest value in a column. It will work with number, date, Boolean or logical values, not with text data type. It will work for column level. And what are the syntax are max say column, or it may be max say if employee is a salary, max say employee is the table name, salary is the column, max say emp salary. So this may be the syntax for max say. Max x function, what it does do, it returns the largest value in the result from evaluating expression for each row of a table. And what may be syntax? Syntax may be max x table expression like max x emp salary. And it will work with number, text, date, but it won't work with Boolean data type. It will work for table level. We can declare with filter. Next question is, what is the difference between average, average A and average X? So till now, whatever I am talking about, these all are DAX functions. So for some particular table or data set you have, you can practice all these. So what average function does, it will return the average of all the numbers in a column, and the syntax for is average column name. Column, the column that contains the numbers for which you want the average. It's a non-numeric values in the column and are handled as follows. Does not support logical value in text. Cells with the value 0 are included when a cell contains 0. It is added to the sum of numbers and the rows is counted among the number of rows used as divisor. So when a cell contains a blank, the row is not counted. Okay. Now what is average A? It returns the average of the values in a column and handles text and non-numeric values. And the syntax for this average A column name. It supports logical values like true if it is 1, false if it is 0, and text it consider as 0. For empty text, it will consider even 0. So values that contain non-numeric text count as 0. This is all about average A function. What does average X do? It calculates the average of a set of expression evaluated over a table. So whenever is a X function, for it basically use filtering on some particular condition in some particular table or column. So syntax for this is average X table expression. Name of table, name of a table over which the aggregation can be performed, and the expression and expression with a scalar result which will be evaluated for each row of the table in the first argument. So the average X function enables you to evaluate expression for each row of a table and then take the resulting set of values and calculate its arithmetic mean. So the function takes a table as its first argument and an expression as the second argument. In all other respects, average X follows the same rule as average. You cannot include non-numeric or non-null cells. So both the table and expression arguments are required here. So these are few questions between count, count A, count X, and count AX. So our next question is this. In Power BI DAX, what is the difference between all these four functions? So what count function is used? Count function used for calculate any kind of values which may be number or text excluding blank and boolean. So it doesn't work for blank or boolean data type. And the syntax is count within bracket column. It will return how much number of rows or whatever you want to count is there in particular column. Next one is count A. Count A function calculate any kind of values, number, text or boolean, excluding blanks. So it doesn't work for blanks, it doesn't count blanks values in column, and it works for number, text and boolean, all types of data types. and the syntax is count a within bracket column. Next one is count x. Counting function calculate any kind of filter values, numbers plus date or text string. It's some mistake, typing mistake, text string excluding blanks and boolean. So it doesn't work for boolean and it works for numbers, date and text string. And the expression for it count within bracket, count x within bracket table name and expression. As I already told you, x count x or anything x is work with some condition or some filtering. So this is expression for some if condition, where condition or whatever you want to filter out here. Next one is count ax. So count ax function is used for any kind of filter values, number, text, boolean, excluding blanks. And the syntax is same. Count ax, table and expression. Next one question is, what is the difference between group by and summarize function in Power BI DAX? So what is the difference between both? Group by used for extract data from table, whereas summarize used to extract data from table itself. Group by can't do implicit calculation. You need to add some other function with it. So summarize can do implicit calculation. Group by need help of any use current group function or any other function, but summarize don't need to use any helping function for calculation. So this is the difference between both. Next one question is, what are top and DAX function in Power BI DAX? So it returns the top and rows of a specified column, and the syntax is top and value like 10, table, order by expression which you want to use in order by expression, and similarly you can use order by expression multiple time, how much time you want to order by your table. So n value, the first parameter, will determine the number of rows that will be returned. 4, 8, 10, like top 8, top 7. For that type of calculation, we use this one syntax. A single scalar value will be returned from where the expression will be evaluated multiple rows. Table, this is table from where you would like to evaluate top n values. Order by expression, this may consist of any DAX expression, by which result of the expression will sort and evaluate each row of the table. And next one, order, it's optional. It will sort an expression by ascending or descending order where you really required. What is the all DAX function? Next question is this. It returned all the rows in a table or all the values in a column, ignoring any filters that might have been applied. This function removes the corresponding filters from the filter context just as remove filters does. And the syntax for this is all, table name or column name. Now we can specify multiple column name here. So table name or column name, the name of an existing table or column on which we want to apply the syntax. And next, column name, optional, repeatable should be. So a column in the same base table, the column can be specified in optional parameters only, where a column is used in the first arguments too. So if you are specifying here table, here we should specify column name. If we are specifying only column name here, it's no more required. So return values, table, an entire table or a table with one or more columns will return values. What is the DAX all except function? So it's a filter function, as we can understand, all except. It returns all the rows in a data table except for those rows that are affected by the specified column filters. And the syntax for this is all except name of table, column name, and then again column name. So the name of an existing table or column. If we are specifying here table name, here should be column name. Column name, a column or a table whose filtering is to be retained when all except is used as a calculate modifier. The column table must be part of the expanded table specified in the first parameter, and return values may be a table, entire table, or a table with one or more columns. So example, calculate, count a, result, medal, all except host, host, city. This type of syntax we can use in all except calculation. Now, DAX all selected function. What is the DAX all selected function? It may be a question in interview. So it will return all the rows in a table or all the values in a column, ignoring any filter that might have been applied inside the query but keeping filters that come from outside. And the syntax is all selected name of table or column name. Then if we are using table name, column name will be here. It may be multiple column name. But if we are using column name here, it's not required. So it will return an entire table or a table with one or more column. I hope you understood how to write the syntax for all selected. Now what is the calculate function in Power BI? Next question is. So calculate function is a very powerful DAX function in Power BI. It is basically used to evaluate an expression in a context modified by filters. It returns a scalar quantity. And the syntax is calculate expression. It may be sum, filter, one filter, another filter, third one filter, and n number of filters we can use in calculate function. And if we want to calculate in East region sales, so what we need to write it down? We should write down calculate sum orders and within brackets sales within that region where region is equal to east or west or north or south. So here we want to calculate east region sales. So it should be calculate sum within bracket sum orders, then again bracket sales region and east. Our calculate table DAX function is a Power BI filter in DAX that evaluates a table expression in context modified by the given filter. It returns a table of values and the expression for this and syntax for this is given. Calculate table expression filter 1, filter 2 up to nth number. So for each region sales we can write it down sum of orders where sales region is east. Now what is calendar DAX function? So calendar is a DAX function that can be used to create a calendar table in Power BI based on the starting date and the ending date provided. We can write it down like calendar start date, end date, and it returns a table with one column of all dates between start date and end date. So if we are having a table where 10 years data is there, like 1st January 2000 to 31st December 2000, 2001 to 2010, but we want the data of only 2005 and 6, then we can specify like this: calendar start date 1/1/2005, 31/12/2006. So we will write it down like this and it will return the data in the same date. Now what is the calendar auto DAX function? So what is this? It may be a question. Calendar auto is also a DAX function that can be used to create a calendar table in Power BI based on starting and ending date provided. But it will return automatically the value. So syntax for this is calendar auto fiscal year end month. And it will return a table with a single column named date containing a continuous set of dates The range of dates is calculated automatically based on data in the model. So these are important questions for Power BI interview purpose. And if you practice for these functions and if you learn all these questions, definitely you can crack the interview based on Power BI DAX. Thank you for watching my video.